Hey, welcome back. And we're going to have a short conversation on technology in the Civil War, specifically technology and how it impacted the number of casualties that actually were an end result of this war. And it was a horrible war. There's probably close to 800,000 people who died in this war, probably 1.5 million that were wounded or killed. So it was really tragic, the results. But a lot of this was because of the new technologies versus the old tactics. And I say old tactics, and that may not even be fair because these tactics were the best tactics of the day. This is what they had, but they still weren't good enough to manage this new technology that come about. Specifically, we talk about rifling of barrels. And I shouldn't forget the existence of the mini ball. Now, mini balls were very, very unique items. Mini balls were different than the old school. Old schools were just like a round bullet that would shoot out of the bend of a barrel, a smooth bore barrel. These barrels were much different. These bullets were much different. These bullets looked kind of like a modern day bullet, but they had these grooves for the rifling. And if you were to look at these projectiles, they were actually hollow up to a certain point. So what happened is when the gas would hit these things, the bullets would expand, and as they expanded and opened up, they became more in sync with the barrel. They tightened into the barrel, and that tightening actually allowed them not to bounce around so much inside of it. So when they came out, it was a more of a straighter shot. And what had happened with these barrels is they had progressed as well. When I say barrels, I'm talking about a rifle barrel. And rifle barrels had developed these grooves in the 1850s. And these were really important because they basically made bullets shoot straighter and more accurately. Picture this, okay? I got to picture this because this is my dream bubble here. Imagine a football. If you throw a football and you don't throw that football very well, what it does is it tumbles, right? It just kind of bounces around and it just doesn't go very far. Now, if you take that same football and you throw it like a spiral, it goes much further. I have never seen a professional football player throw a ball consistently where it tumbled around because it's too easy to catch, it doesn't have any velocity, it doesn't make its mark, it's inaccurate. A football that has a tight spiral will go further, longer, more accurately, is thrown harder, has more velocity, all the things you want from a good, well thrown football. The same thing goes with rifling barrels and what it would do to the bullets and how it would make them go. And this is a really, really important piece to understand. When we talk about why it's important, these old tactics, these guys literally would line up across each other like this. And this is the old school mentality, and this was the best they had the day. But the preferred way of battle was to take your army, huge armies, and line them up across each other on a field, and they would take turns shooting at each other. Then they would just take off running and try to stab each other with bayonets. So the old school, you could fire accurately about 150 feet. And more than likely, what's going to happen is you're going to kill a couple of the other guys, and you might take out, this guy or this guy before they're able to get to you, and you guys fight it back and forth, and then you take off and run away. Because remember, you could load one of these barrels 3 times in a minute if you're good, and so you can run a long ways in a minute. Um, but the further away you are, the harder it is for you to get to your enemy. And what happened is these enemies were now firing with a weapon that can shoot more than twice as far. So instead of taking out a couple of guys, they're taking out lots of guys. And so what you see is you see a death rate that just goes up much, much higher. And a lot of this is just because they had better weapons, and these better weapons allowed them to be way more destructive. It's amazing sometimes we'll invent weapons to protect ourselves or to prevent war or to deter people, but in reality, sometimes these weapons actually just make the matters worse. Rifling of barrels was a great innovation that helped us in a lot of ways. It made our defense much better. It made it easier to hunt and take care of yourself, protect your family, but also when it came to a battlefield, until we changed those tactics, that rifling a barrel and the mini ball were absolutely 100% super destructive. That's it. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.